It's going to be online. So I'm going to give you my words of wisdom for today, so you can bring the screen back to me. Take it up. There we go. I'm here. Very good, everybody. So my words of wisdom for today. And have you ever asked how we figure out if somebody's Jewish? So here's one way that one man figured out, or he tried to figure out. So he goes this way: there's an elderly Jew, and he's called to court to act as a witness, and the judge asks him, "What's your occupation?" He says, "Well, I am a minyan man." There's a minyan man. What is that? He says, "Well, Your Honor, when there are 9 men in the synagogue and I join them, they become 10. The judge says, "What are you talking about? When there are 9 people and I join them, they're also 10. The Jew breaks into a wide grin. He leans towards the judge and says, "Do'ech bist Yid. You're also a Jew?" Okay. So I know, Barbara, you have another one about the saint, but I'm not going to repeat that one here. That's for another day. So we're always looking for the Jew. For the 10th one, we can pull in for a minyan. We're always looking for a Jew for something deeper as well. And if there are any times in the year in which we find or look for our connection as Jews, certainly there's during Pesach and Yom Kippur, sort of the 2 celebrations in which we really identify as Jews. Certainly Pesach, people try to get together, even if it's over rye bread Seder, but they try to get together. And the Yomim Noraim, Jews try to get together. Even if they're atheists, they get together to pray, very often, all right? It's a secular prayer, but they get together. It's the way that we identify ourselves. Well, are we still identifying ourselves as Jews? For my older Jews, you've been through, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of being a Jew, you might as well stay. It's too late to change. But what about our younger Jews? 20, 30, millennials, Gen X, Gen XYZ, Gen in between, Gen can't determine, whatever it is. We're beginning to worry about our younger Jews. Are they identifying as Jews? Are they involved in the Jewish community? Do they care? And this year, the quandary in the past year has been exacerbated, no less by the isolation that has been brought on by the fears of the COVID-19 panic here. We thought we were opening up and we'd be ready for high holidays, wide open. Sure enough, we've limited just a handful here in the lobby, and the rest are joining online, and Zoom, and Facebook, and YouTube, and we hope people are connecting. But it's affecting our community. And just this summer, a survey came out, supposedly by a reliable source, that showed that our younger Jews were turning away from Israel in large numbers, even identifying with the statement Israel is a genocidal state. That is to equivalent Israel with the equivalent, say that Israel is equal to the Nazis. What the Israelis doing to the Palestinians is like what the Nazis did to the Jews. That's what it means when you say genocide. Cattle cars, machine guns, mass graves, gas chambers. That's what it means. So, and this says, well, a lot of Jews. Well, the poll is conducted, turns out, by something called GBAO Strategies. Right? And it claimed that 25% of American Jews see Israel as an apartheid state, and 22% of young Jews agree that, American Jews agree that Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinians. Now, those are serious accusations. Well, it turns out that the poll was very far from objective. It was commissioned by political operatives for political purposes. GBAO is one of the major polling companies that admitted that they failed in sampling the public in the 2020 elections. If they couldn't get the 2020 election right, we can question whether they can get Jews right. Because they only catch so many Jews on this polling sample. To get it, you get 10 Jews, you make it to 10 wrong Jews. That's the size of the sample, equivalent. And then by doing selective sampling and by phrasing the questions in a certain way, you know that we get the answer that we're looking for. Polls are not objective. They are guided by the kinds of questions asked and by who is being selected. And this organization that was behind it was using this to gaslight other young Jews. And the gaslighting is a tactic in which a perception is created that is intended to make you feel uncomfortable because everybody else is that way, and how come you're not that way, so you must be that way also. That's the very popular term today, gaslighting. Well, even if the poll results are questionable. We do have problems about how some of our younger Jews feel about Israel, or that some young Jews are involved in denying the rights of Jews, alone of all peoples, to be a safe homeland. That's stomach churning. That's Jewish Voices for Peace. They claim to be Jews, active Jews. We've got Peter Beinart, who is a great political writer for Atlantic Magazine and other sources, says, no, we don't need a Jewish state anymore. Can unwrap it. Stomach churning. Now, turns out, fortunately, there was another poll that came out not long ago by a highly respected Pew Research Center. They're not a political group. They're not a political operative group. They've not been bribed into getting one position or another. They're very good. And so they came out and said it's not as bad, not perfect, not as bad. And it is true. There's still a strong identification. Young Jews are still similar to the parents and grandparents in Jewish identity in many ways. There's still a strong identification with Israel among our young Jews, but it is true, it's weaker. It's weaker because they have not been of their parents, my generation, or their grandparents, because they haven't experienced what Jews went through in the last century. Right? Those of you who were in the concentration camps. No. Those of you who grew up when Israel was facing its struggles for existence, Six-Day War, Yom Kippur War, and so on, you understand. You felt it viscerally. These kids have grown up without it. But they still identify. Truth is, majority still identify. But we have another problem. And it's a current reality, and it is a response to what the FBI has reported. And the Pew report shows we have been spooked by a new wave of anti-Semitism. If there's anything that keeps Jews together, it's fear. All right? And the reality is reported by the FBI that we have been the target of hate attacks. So in 2020, according to the FBI, there were more hate crimes directed against Jews than against any other religious group. And when you start comparing ethnicities and religious groups on the ranks of victimhood, Jews came in just behind blacks and whites. So in proportion, there are attacks against blacks, there are attacks against whites, and more or less in proportion to the population. But the attacks on Jews is number 3. It's far out of proportion to the population as hate crime victims. And we came out ahead of Hispanics in terms of numbers of attacks, far out of proportion then to our population, ahead of gay males, a country that's being accused of being homophobic. More attacks on Jews than against gay males. 2.5 times more incidents than against Asians. Everybody's concerned about hate against Asians. Jews are the ones being attacked. 6 times more incidents against Jews than against Muslims, and everybody's saying we're an Islamophobic country. And Jews are getting attacked. If it's any consolation, the numbers have been consistently bad, or even worse for many years. And maybe this year is actually not as bad as it was in previous years. We're just not aware of the numbers. And why we're not aware of the numbers? Because while other minority groups have been quick to protest, we've kept a consistently low profile. Don't rock the boat, schach still, mach nicht kein Gewalt, right? Keep it quiet, don't make a noise. That's how Jews have operated. And reporting is in the major media has kept it under the rug. New York Times has admitted as much that they kept attacks on Jews swept under the rug. It didn't fit a particular narrative that only white supremacists attack Jews. And now the media can't hide it. It's beginning to sink in, right? Especially after the attacks on the synagogues in Pittsburgh and Poway. And the survey found that 60% of Jews in America have themselves witnessed behavior or comments they personally deemed anti-Semitic. And American Jews broadly are feeling less secure than before. Just yesterday, Erev Yom Kippur, there was a vote in Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont, major city in Vermont. Vermont, instead of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, that said we have to stop selling ice cream in Israel because there's a factory that makes ice cream in the territories, and we are pure. We are pure. It turns out that the head of the ethics committee for the Ben & Jerry's is now being accused of double dipping in the ice cream, not just in the ice cream, but using another account to pay herself an additional salary out of the funds from Ben & Jerry's. So that's going to pop up. But the city had a vote in front of it about BDS. And what does Burlington, Vermont care about BDS? Well, one of the members of the committee said that we had a proposal from a justice ethics panel, and so we were going to put it in front. And then they had the protests. Obviously, the Jewish community protest, but then they had the protest by the Palestinians and the pro-Palestinians. And they tabled the resolution immediately because they saw how violent the Palestinian and pro-Palestinians had become in their protests, in which they realized they were no longer, that the Jews were not safe. And we have a video recording here. A Palestinian gets up and says, Jews were victims of the Holocaust. You're perpetrating a Holocaust against Palestine. Find me the gas chambers. Find me the gas chambers. Find me the trains carrying people in cattle cars. Find me the machine gun squads. Right? So the lies are spread openly. And so the city council suddenly said, hey, wait a minute, we do realize Jews are in danger. We see this. So if we don't feel strongly in identity as Jews, our neighbors certainly make us feel it. There's a famous quote it's attributed to the mayor Karl Luger of Vienna in the previous century, previous century, end of the 19th century. He used anti-Semitism as his tool to climb to power and political victory. And he basically laid the foundations for Hitler's rise later on. And ironically, it was noted to him that many of his good friends were Jews, to which he said, I decide who is a Jew. So I don't want an anti-Semite to decide for me if I'm a Jew or not, and I also don't want our young Jews to be Jews just because someone hit them on the head or canceled them online. So I have to go to a positive reason. And so it's time now with all this to decide, why be a Jew? If I'm going to put up with all the garbage around me, I should have a very good reason why I'm still in the fold. So know that there have always been Jews who opted out of the Jewish identity altogether. Some because they didn't find, or they found something in another religion that actually moved them, or they found a political cause that pulled them out and they said they didn't need Judaism. And yet others moved out, because of political advancement, social advancement, professional advancement. On the other hand, we also have to recognize that there are many not born as Jews who actually want to enter into the covenant of Judaism, who choose to be Jews. And just in the past 2 years, I've been personally involved in 4 conversions. It's about 100% of our younger couples here. So we look at this movement, there are those going out and those going in. We must ask ourselves, what's expected of me as a Jew? Why should I be part of this religious and philosophical nation? Why should I put up with all the pesting and hectoring from others around me? What hope does it offer me? What message does it offer me in the world around me besides being somebody's punching bag? So it's a threefold question, or as a threefold answer. So in this season, key elements of Jewish thought are grouped in 3, as we witnessed them during last week, during the Rosh Hashanah service. We had the Malchiyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot, kingship, remembrance, and the trumpet blast. So Malchiyot was the theme of recognizing God as the source of our values, our sense of decency, our moral and religious compass. And we are Jews insofar as we are measured not by the dogma or the definition of God we believe in, but how well we live out that belief. We're a religion of action, of doing. And so I must be a Jew by observance. That's what the Malchiyot tells us. If there's a heavenly king, he rules not for power, but for the benefit of his kingdom, the creation, but a king's rule is useless if no one listens. So we Jews measure our conduct by what we do, not by our dogma. Very strength of Judaism. It makes demands of us. It sets up standards for behavior. It gives a common clock, a common calendar, common kitchen, a common social life. We may not do a good job of keeping the clock and the calendar and the kitchen and so on together, but we know that is what's expected of us. It's the antithesis of modern life. Key foundations of modern life, modern civilization, is the idea of the completely unbounded, undefined individual turned inward to the navel on what's good for me instead of outward. What's my obligation towards the outside? But from the Jewish perspective, freedom is to be had only in the context of action, of commitment and obligation. To be free, one must have a sense of limits, of right and wrong. To be a Jew then was in all generations to be keenly trained and disciplined in the art of living, much as one needs to be trained and disciplined to be a dancer, a sportsman, or an artist of any kind. So we are Jews in our observance. The second theme of Zichronot, of the remembrances, we have a long history. And though we need not be experts in all details, we should surely be aware of the general trajectory of Jewish history. Remember, one of my teachers in a Hebrew school told me this. She said she was teaching our first and second graders a simple statement. We are so lucky to be Jews. Lucky to be Jews, right? Oh, the great poet Heine, century and a half, 2 centuries ago, said Judaism was not a religion, it's a misfortune. That was the way it was looked upon. And he was converted to become an attorney, and he realized it didn't help anyway, couldn't get a job anyhow. So he stayed as a poet. But now, this is the perspective. It's not a misfortune, it's lucky. We're lucky to be Jews. We have to have that thought. It's a privilege to be a Jew, to be a part of the Jewish people, part of a proud tradition. We gave the world the Torah, and through the Torah we gave its values in Christianity and Islam, and inspired the powerful movements for human rights and social justice. So we were there at the beginning. And it's because many Jews felt that pride of identity that we made it through the generations, even through the worst of the past century. We have borne the worst behavior of humanity with our heads held high. We did it without degenerating to the point of blowing up children in buses or flying airliners into skyscrapers. I'm always amazed at this fact of modern history. It's true that we bemoan assimilation and the vanishing number of Jews, but I also see a miracle in the opposite, the miracle that there really are Jews still. That over the 3,300 years since Moses, despite attrition, we are the ones who still choose to be Jews. So that is Zichronot for us, our remembrance, our belonging to the great tapestry of the Jewish people, past and present. Now, that alone, though we know, is not yet substance. It's not full nourishment. If being a Jew begins and ends with an empty admission, I am a Jew, then that's it, that's an empty admission, and that's all. The Jew has to be a Jew for something. To borrow the name of a noted organization, one must be a Jew for Judaism. There has to be a dynamic, underlying, and giving force to both observance and identity. So finally, for all of us, for all of this, a Jew by observance and a Jew by identity, there must be an underlying basis. So we have the shofarot, the trumpet blast of redemption. For all that we Jews do not have a dogma, we do have a belief. It's very vague, it's very amorphous, but it's there. We have a belief in an ultimate goal for humanity. We have a belief in a purpose of life. Belief in the individual as sacred, creating the divine image of one God as a source of existence and ultimate values. So we're Jews for a message. If I'm to be a Jew, I might as well be a Jew to the core, and that the core Jew is a Jew of faith, of a searching faith, a seeking faith, not a dogmatic and closed faith, but an open faith, one that is open to question and examination and exploration. So for all that we Jews refuse to say what we believe, we know what we believe. There is a God, however we may imagine him or her. We believe that there is only one God, and we derive our sense of value and the value of our human being next to us from that God. And that we sense our purpose and meaning in life from that one God, however we want to define that concept. We also believe we have a great part to play in all humanity. It's not in imposing our Torah on the other nations. We were never a jihadi nor a crusader faith. The righteous of all nations have their place in the world to come, whatever their specific creed or specific text may be. Ours is a different purpose. It is in our living and following the words and the spirit of the ancient prophets, sages, and wise men of our tradition that we bring the world closer to the divine, that we enable others of whatever creed to live and act as righteous people. I want to end with a closing verse from a poem by Rabbi Abba Hillel Silver, and it is in the Machzor, it's in the Rosh Hashanah section. And this is at the ending, a little different version of the ending, and it goes this way. Shall I leave them now? Can I part company with this immortal band whom I love? They have become too dear and precious to me. They're bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, soul of my soul. They're my people, their quest is mine. They will live within me, and I will live with them forever. Amen. 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 So on this Yom Kippur, we recommit ourselves as Jews. Now we go to our own history, to what we have gone through as a people, to our experiences, to our sufferings, and how we have come through them. So we go to the martyrology section, and we begin page 154, page 154 in the Machzor. See, in the printed edition. Yes, you've got it there, very good. And in the printed edition, yeah, 153 in the printed edition. So I'm going to, let's read with me the opening. I'll read a line, you read a line. And you have it there in front of you. The traditional Yom Kippur liturgy would include a long poem on the bravery of the sages during the Roman prosecution. Those sages who had the courage to stand up for their beliefs at all costs. Go ahead, read the next line. In recent years. We Jews never saw ourselves as the victims of history. We were the eternal outlier, the eternal naysayer. Ours was a story of courage to stand for our convictions. We stand here today as heirs to the heritage of courageous people who paved the path before us. And with that, he uttered his last words, "The Lord is one." We continue over to page 155, and we have several readings. I will go ahead and if you have anybody who would like to volunteer to read one of these for me, on page 155. Esther, would you like to? The English reading? Okay, come here to the microphone, Esther. Top reading. Yeah, here's the microphone over here. Oh, okay, you can use that microphone. That's fine. Okay.
Which one am I reading?
The story on the top, yeah. Situation.
On the top?
Yeah.
I heard from some elders who fled from Spain that one of the boats was infested with the plague. The captain put the passengers ashore at some uninhabited place. There, most of them died of starvation, while some gathered up their strength and set out on foot in search of some settlement. There was one among them who struggled on foot together with his wife and 2 children. The wife, unaccustomed to so much difficult walking, grew faint and died. The husband carried his children along until both he and they fainted from hunger. When he regained consciousness, he found that his 2 children had died. In great grief, he rose to his feet and said, "Lord of the universe, you are doing a great deal that I might desert my faith, but know for certainty that even against the will of heaven, a Jew I am and a Jew I shall remain, and neither that which you have brought upon me nor that which you will yet bring upon me will be of any avail." Thereupon he gathered some earth and some grass, covered the boys, and went forth in search of a settlement.
Continue. Page 155, the bottom half. Would someone would like to read that part for me? The bottom half. There we go. Yes, that reading is a Jew forever.
A Jew forever. A Jew in departing, a Jew in arriving. A Jew in arising, a Jew in sitting. A Jew in walking, a Jew in standing. A Jew in thought, a Jew in deeds. A Jew in trouble, a Jew in joy. a Jew in speech, a Jew in silence, a Jew in drinking, a Jew in eating, a Jew in business, a Jew in studying, a Jew in shoes, a Jew in clothing, a Jew in hatred, a Jew in love, a Jew in God, a Jew in people, a Jew in life, a Jew in death, a Jew in heaven, a Jew on earth, a Jew you were born, a Jew you will die.
Barbara Drozzo has a song that she sung for us every year to give us the English rendition as well.
Breathe, okay? This song is dedicated to the sacred memory of the 1.5 million Jewish children that perished in the Holocaust. On March 1943, there was a slaughter of children in the Shavler ghetto in Lithuania. Hannah Weinstein wrote the songs after this horrible event. I translated it into this. In a Lithuanian village far stands a house with crumbling walls. Through a window not too large, little children peer outside. Little boys with minds so quick, little girls with blonde braided hair. And together with them, there are two black eyes are staring too. Black eyes full of grace and charm, among a nose that is nice and small, lips that that should be kissed, dark black curls upon his head. His mother brought him here into this place, bundled up at the dead of night, kissed him hard, and then, crying quietly, she said to him, "Here, my child, will be your dwelling. Listen to your mother's words. I have brought you here in hiding because your life is at risk at the home. You can play here quietly with these children. Please keep quiet and behave. No more Jewish words, no more Jewish songs. From now on, you are not a Jew." The child cries and begs, "Please, mother, I want to stay with you. Don't leave me here by myself." The child is overcome with tears. She tries to kiss them away, but this doesn't help a bit. The child protests. He screams, "No, no, I will not stay here alone." She gathers him up in her arms, and in a tender voice, she sings, "Child of mine, my son, don't cry." Her tears flow freely like her son's as she leaves the house alone, filled with sorrow, fear, and dread. She walks into the lonely night. Outside is cold, the wind is blowing, a voice is heard calling, "Oh, my child, I left you in the hands of strangers. I had nowhere else to turn." A mother talking to herself, wandering outdoors cold into the late icy night. Her tears stained her face. Oh God, protect my only child. I'll sing it in Yiddish. She wrote this song on March 1943. There was a slaughter of children in the Shavlo ghetto in Lithuania. Hannah Kaitlin Weinstein wrote the songs after this horrible event. In a okay, how do I move it up here? In a Litwisch der weit, in a Stiebel auf der Seite, durch a Fenster nicht kein Geräusch, Kuckelkinder lach heraus, Jinga lach mit Plakekepp, Mäder lach mit blonde Zepp, und zusammen dort mit See, gucken schwarze Augen, zwei. Schwarze Augen viel mit Chein und ein Näscherle kleins. Lipa lacht zum Kuschen noch, stark gelobte schwarze Haar. Die Mame hat ihm da gebracht, eingewickelt spät bei Nacht, gekuscht ihm stark, geweint, geklockt und so zu ihm gesagt. Von heint, mein Kind, ist da dein Ort, gedenk dein Mames letzte Wort. Behalt dir da der Fall, es ist dein Leben in Gefahr.